Most buyer personas are useless. They often have a quirky name like Mark the Marketer and some info like 37 years old, married for 8 years, 2 kids, mid-level manager at a tech company. The problem with this, Mark isn't real. Here is what Adrian Barnes, founder of Best Buyer Persona, says about this.
The reason it creates bias is because if you have basically assigned your entire persona to a 28-year-old white female, maybe who has these kind of traits, then you automatically create all content, all marketing, all products, everything for a 28 white female. When we know that your entire audience of consumers are not 28-year-old white females. And I don't really feel like those demographic type information do a good job of creating personas.
Adrian is on a mission to help businesses create actionable, data-backed, and needle-moving buyer personas. In this Marketing Power-Ups episode, you'll learn first, what's wrong with how most marketers create buyer personas. Second, Adrian shares the 4 R's to the best buyer personas that will help you win more business. Third, Adrian's advice to young marketers about gaining confidence. For each episode, I create a Power-Ups cheat sheet you can use to download, fill in, and apply the marketing concept to your business right away. Go to marketingpowerups.com to get those right now. Are you ready? Let's go.
Marketing Power-Ups. Ready? Go! Here's your host, Rambly John.
Let's jump in and talk about marketing power-ups. And one of the power-ups that you have really honed in on is around best buyer personas. Right before we get to that power, what's wrong with the current personas that marketers use? And I'm really honing in on one of your tweets that has over 700 likes that you said that fictional characters and personas really lay the foundation for bias and inaccurate marketing campaigns. Can you talk a little bit about that? Why personas lead to all of those negative things that's mentioned in that tweet?
One of the things or the reason how it all begins, I'll say, is that it starts with the creation of the persona, right? So usually what I've seen a lot in the past is, marketing team, a CMO will get into a room or on a Zoom and say, okay, we need some personas. So who are our customers? And it's kind of a lot of assumptions. They have a really good time. People get creative. It's like, oh, and I bet she loves a matcha latte from Starbucks. And I bet she drives a gray minivan. And I bet she has a cat. And her kid plays soccer and basketball. So kind of these fake people begin to form, right? They don't actually exist. They're not real in reality. And it's not based upon solid data and customer-backed conversations or social listening or actually going in and looking at behaviors of online, the way your consumers behave. It's a lot of well, we've heard this from sales. We've seen this a little bit. Maybe our customer support kind of told us, and this is what we think. So we're just going to lay this out. And the reason it creates bias is because if you have basically assigned your entire persona to a 28-year-old white female, maybe who has these kind of traits, then you automatically create all content, all marketing, all products, everything for a 28 white female. When we know that your entire audience of consumers are not 28-year-old white females. You could have all ages, all races, all genders. And I don't really feel like those demographic type information do a good job of creating personas. Now, people want to kind of push back and argue, and they say, well, we have to know that. And we're D2C. We got to be able to sell to, women who are buying lipstick. There's not very many men who buy lipstick. So what are you trying to say, Adrian? And my point is that it's not that you shouldn't know that information or use that kind of information in your marketing. It's that your persona should not be created because of this information. It should not be the persona. As a marketer, you should be aware much more intuitively to what are their pains? Why are they buying the product? What is the process that they go through to find out that you exist or to realize themselves that they need a solution? Those are much more important for marketing teams to understand than 28-year-old white female, whatever the thing may be. So that's why I say when you've begun in such a way where those facts, quote unquote, become your persona, it really is laying a foundation for bias.
All that you're saying is around assumptions. Assumptions like,
Mhm.
and generalization. You're generalizing your customers as this big group of people where when people are people, right?
Right.
They have different pains and situation. That's what you're really like trying to hone in on. Is like generalizing marketing and leads to bias. Is what you're really driving towards.
Right. And of course, there's going to be some level and some degree of creating stereotypes. That's almost what a persona is you're creating a stereotype. But I would much rather have different audience segments based and focused on why someone bought a product. Why do they come to us? How do they use it? What are their pain points? Segment those people together rather than job title, age, gender, that kind of a thing. It's a much stronger way to segment your audience. You're not going to people so because she's 28 one year, next year she's aged, is she no longer a customer? Like, no, of course not. If she gets married and she's loved your product for forever, but all of a sudden whoever this she is, you know what I'm saying? She gets married. Is she now no longer a valued customer? No, of course not. Like when you think about how people actually use products, I don't come to a product and think, oh, I happen to be the right age and the right profile for this. And it stems from media buying, right? Like if you go onto LinkedIn, or if you're, especially in B2B, if you're buying ads anywhere, you have to know that to buy media and reach a certain audience. So what I always say is that you might reach if you know that, but you'll never resonate if that's all you know. You have to be able to understand what is the pull for them. What is the thing that's going to hit home for them? That then once you've reached them, you can say, okay, we understand you though. Like we really get where you're at. We understand that this is a problem, or is this a problem? If so, here's what we've seen. Like that's how you begin to resonate with your audience.
I love what you just said there because it starts just a little bit of alliteration. You'll reach them, but you'll never resonate with them if you're really focused on those information with the persona. You're really leading towards your framework that you use, the jobs to be done framework to define much to your business name, Best Buyer Personas. Can you talk a little bit about that process now? So you were already leading towards understanding the pains. Can you share your process to helping companies define their Best Buyer Personas and grow past stalls?
The Jobs to be done is just a very useful framework for understanding people, for being in a situation where you're trying to figure out what is at the core motivation, what is a core motivation of someone. I basically have studied Bob Moesta up and down. He was at the Business of Software conference. He goes every year. And so I've studied his interviews and read the books and really wanted to get a really solid idea of how do I learn? How do I find out from people what's important to them and why they buy? And basically those pain points in that entire journey. And Jobs to be Done does that really, really well. It wants to sit you in a situation where you're almost gathering information like like somebody who's running a news report, right? Like it's a biography of sorts. And so you're really trying to say, okay, tell me about that day. Like what was going on? What did the weather look like? Why did you do these certain things? So you can really get to understand those core emotions. And the core emotions, of course, for any marketer is what you want to be pushing on. That's what you want to get to. That's what you want to understand. Those are the insights that allow you to create content that is helpful or funny or entertaining or whatever you're trying for your content to be. It really does give you the information necessary to have the stuff that resonates. Like we said earlier, it's basically the key to understanding who and why your buyers are. I say, we always talk about you need to know your buyers. You need to know who your customers are, know your customers. But nobody really explained what that meant because eConsultancy did a survey a few years back, but it said basically brands feel like they do know their customers. They'll tell you like 98% of people are like, yeah, we know our customers. But then on the customer side, they don't feel understood. They don't feel valued. They don't feel like things are going the way they would like them to. And so there was a disconnect. So for me, I was like, why is there such a huge disconnect? And I really believe it starts with identifying what does it mean to know your customers. So if you're going to know them, you need to know how they behave online or in your product, essentially, who they are, how do they self-identify? That's some of that demographic information. And then why do they behave the way they do? And a lot of people want to, run surveys or use Hotjar, use these amazing tools, social listening, to see how people behave. We can learn a lot online and with tools, but what we can't learn is why they made the choices they did. Why do they feel the way they did? The only way to get that information is through interviews. And that's why the interview process is the most time consuming, the most expensive, but the most important part of the persona process.
I'm totally with you there. I feel like that's, as an introvert, I try to avoid customer interviews, but I know that the value and the insights and all the advantages that come with having conversations with customers really do come, because it's easy to lie on a survey, right? It's easy to like, yes, I am this, I love it. But when you're talking to somebody, when you're looking at a bit in the eye, there's hopefully some clues that they're really excited. Eyes light up. They get they get more emotional and more active versus when they're not really excited about that. Before we continue, I want to thank the sponsor for this episode, 42 Agency. When you're in scale-up mode, you have to hit your KPIs. The pressure is on to deliver demos and signups. It's a lot to handle: demand gen, ABM, email sequences, revenue ops, and more. That's where 42 Agency, founded by my good friend Camille Rexton, can help you. They're a strategic partner that's helped B2B SaaS companies like Profitwell, Teamwork, Sprout Social, and HubDoc build a predictable revenue engine. If you're looking for performance experts and creatives to solve your hardest marketing problems at a fraction of the cost of in-house, look no further. Go to 42 Agency, that's number 42agency.com, to talk to a strategist to learn how you can build a high-efficiency revenue engine now. Find that link in the description or show notes. Well, that's all for now. Let's jump back into this episode. I want to share, so you interview them, you get their insights, and then you use that as the core to the best buyer persona, not based on gender or race or age, but really based on the motivation and the pain points that they're facing. Are there any other things that you would add to a great buyer persona that we haven't chatted about?
So especially for B2B, one of the things that I like to include is what I call the 4 R's. So you want to know their relationship, their responsibilities, their rituals, and their routines. So when I say relationship, what I found when I've got B2B sellers, B2B marketers, is we need to know, where do they sit in the organization? Where are they the champion? Are they the buyer? Are they the user? Do they have the credit card? Is our product to where it's got to be like, now we got to go convince their boss to buy? Like, all of that information is really important. So that's the relationships. I like to identify their internal hierarchy, essentially. What does that organization's hierarchy look like? And how does it buy products? How do they go about that? Rituals. What does their day-to-day look like? What other kind of tools do they use? What are they meeting in offices? Are they a fully remote company? Like, all of those things are really important to know, or can be, especially for B2B. Routines, is there something that is consistent with them? Maybe the routine is they purchase new products in the spring, or they can only shop once every 3 years. If you get to enterprise B2B, contracts are locked in. It's valuable to know when those contracts come up. So what kind of routines and cycles is the company a part of? So all of that's really something that I like to look at when we do the buyer personas. Also, the buyer's journey. What does that look like? Where does the level of awareness happen? What are kind of the common steps? Obviously, everybody kind of takes their own, and especially internal and in enterprise companies, you have buying processes that can be extensive and 6 months, a year long kind of a thing. But it's important to understand, what does that process look like? Who has to be involved? Who are the decision makers? Things like that. Also very important. And so when we put together a persona, one of the things I like to do, and this is kind of how we developed into growth stalls and understanding how to help push companies through the growth stalls, is one thing I would do is I was always start with stakeholder interviews. And I would say, like, okay, what are you assuming about the product, or assuming about your company, about your customers? What do you know? And what do you need to know? And what we would find is oftentimes there were misalignments, confusions, silos with information, silos with like educational gaps, huge knowledge gaps for different people. And that became really important information for like the CEO and the executives to know. They were like, oh, we didn't realize that. We didn't realize that our head of product and our head of sales were on two completely different pages with their goals and where things were going. So we started actually leaning more into understanding internal processes. So the growth stalls part comes from understanding your customers, the external and the internal. But those internal questions are always answered in the persona. So I would say, like, what do you need to know in order for your projects to be most successful? And I would talk to all of the stakeholders in the organization, and they'd let me know what, I need to know what kind of price they'd be willing to pay, or I need to know, what other tool do they use, or, all of the different things. And so that becomes key information in the persona. So each audience segment, each persona, because there usually are multiple, has a lot of supportive information. So there's quotes. There's that, every statement that I say, this and this and this is fact, there's a quote to support it, because we've gone through the interviews and we know that it's true. So, we really want to make sure that when we create these persona documents, that it's usable across the organization, that it doesn't just sit in marketing. We want product to be able to use it. We want customer support and sales and the executive team to be able to base strategy upon it. It really does become a core foundational document for the organization to grow.
I totally love that 4R. I can't get over it. I just want to reiterate, it's relationship, rituals, routines, and I don't remember the
responsibilities.
Responsibilities. So that's so good. That's a gold mine. You said something there that's super interesting, that for most B2B products, there's usually more than one persona. Is that what you would say? Would you agree to that? Like, what's the average you've seen working with companies? And it totally depends on like how complex is your product, the industry. But do you have any guidance on like, if you're B2B, only have one persona, then maybe you should think about, other ones that you're not covering?
So it really does depend on the products that are out. Like, I've worked with companies where there's 6 or 7 products within it, within the one company. So, but myself, and I've talked to a few others who kind of do really strong jobs to be done type audience segmenting, we've never seen more than 3 to 5. So if you end up with, what I've seen when people do it through demographics is that there are 16 personas throughout the company, because sales will have about 3 or 4 personas, marketing will have about 3 or 4 personas, product has 3 or 4 personas, like each different department has created their own personas because they need to know who the customers are. And it's all very geared towards their perspective, right? Like, what do we need to know about in order to make our goals met? What do we know about our people? So they're all a little different. And that's really why when I come in and there are, 9 to 10 personas for a company, or especially when there's only 1 or 2 products, it's a smaller company, then it's like, okay, we need to kind of revamp and rethink about the way we segment these people. Because if we work through jobs to be done usually absorbs 2 or 3 or 4 of those personas. And then if we can clarify and get to know the information necessary for all of the departments, then you have a much more streamlined process. It's a clear, like, here's our slide. It's useful for everybody. And it's not so siloed as each department having their own personas.
I want to shift gears now and talk about career. I believe you've been in marketing for how many years now? Like, I feel like you're you're an expert. Obviously,
Oh
an
my
expert in
gosh.
this space.
I think we're working on year 7.
7. Nice.
So not terribly
I
long.
Yeah, because you were a teacher before, right?
I was
That's
a
an
teacher before.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's an interesting. You have an interesting perspective now, like that transition from teaching to now marketing. What's in the last 7 years? What's something that's helped you in your career as you progress? As a marketer.
There are a few things. Number one, especially since I am a consultant, freelancer, solopreneur, whatever you want to call it, basically, I'm kind of running my own shop. I'm not, an in-house marketer. Is I have to push through the cringe, push through the awkward, push through the days of like, nobody wants to hear from me or I don't have anything to say, and try to show up authentically in some way. And sometimes that's just be saying like, I don't know, or asking questions or just being vulnerable. Sometimes it's me saying, no, I really do know this. Like when I know something, I'm pretty confident in what I know. But I never want to put out there and make it look like I know more than what I know. Right. Like, so that's something that has definitely been helpful, is just being willing to show up in different spaces, be a little awkward, or it's just, it just feels awkward, right? Like you're pushing through, you think nobody wants to hear from me. What do I have to say? But pushing through that anyways, ignoring that voice and just doing it regardless, kind of that imposter syndrome. The second thing has just been to be obsessively curious about what it is I'm doing. So I've basically given myself an MBA in like interviewing and conducting research in this way. I've read every book, I've read textbooks, I've gone through, and when you can find a syllabus online, I've read every book in the syllabus. So also without actually taking any legitimate courses, it's all self-taught, that kind of thing. So just obsessively curious and then pushing through the imposter syndrome and showing up that's kind of what I keep striving for, is just to stay consistent and know what I know, essentially.
I love those two, especially like pushing past. Like, I've been sharing visuals and stuff online, and every time I post it up, like this is the worst. It's like this is the worst thing I've ever created. And sometimes people just have to push that and just share that knowledge. And that's how we actually met through. I was gonna join Corey Haines, this challenge that he did to grow Twitter, and I was like, this is I'm not good enough. I don't have enough followers, and we got placed in the same group, and that's how we became closer friends. It's through that.
Yeah, we did. That was a few years ago, and it was like I think it was 2020. It was a focus, and it was so funny, like watching. We had a small little group. Some of us are now like almost million. I have no idea how many some of them have. And then like there's still me who's just barely over 10,000.
Like 12,000.
I have 12,000, but like the goal in 2020 was to reach 10, and I didn't. So it's funny, but you can't let that be the thing that stops you. Like if I were like, oh well, I guess I didn't make 10,000 followers, I'm gonna give up. Like nobody cares about my tweets. It's got to be about something bigger than that, right? Like if you're only chasing clout and numbers, you're going to burn out real quick.
And the other thing is like, you never know who's watching you, though you don't have like hundreds of thousands of followers. That's how I believe you got invited to speak at Harvard University. Was somebody found you on Twitter and was like, Adrian, your tweets, your content's amazing. Come speak to our. This is what happens when even though sometimes we feel like we're not creating great content, people are like, this is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I tweeted something, and she couldn't quite remember what it was, but a client that I work with who also has a very, very small Twitter following liked my tweet. And because he liked it, it showed up in her feed. And like, he really has a small following. And so then she reached out to me at email. She's like, this is great. Can you come speak at Harvard? I can't pay you, but we'd love to have you come and talk and teach the students. And I just happened to be in Boston going to the Business of Software conference. And I was like, actually, I will be in town. So we made it happen.
I know you talk about those power-ups. Another thing I want to ask you is around advice for people who are young, particularly for yourself. If you had to give yourself, your younger self, when you're making that transition from teaching to marketing, what would you give that younger version of yourself as an advice to as that person goes through marketing?
Okay, so a little context. I will be 40 in like 12 days. So I'm turning, like, this is a birthday year. It's a big birthday, right? Like, and it's middle age. 40 is a big number. So I've been thinking a little bit about this. And really, it's that there are so many chapters in life. If you're in your 20s, for some reason, when you hit like 28, like something in your body or society or somewhere makes you feel like you're running out of time, makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I haven't accomplished enough. Like, I don't know what it is, but it seems to be true. It was true when I was 28. It still seems to be true. You have so many chapters. There is so much time. There are so many iterations of yourself available and out there if you just keep moving forward, stay curious, stay learning. I'm literally relaunching a part of my consultancy like in the next couple of weeks, and I'm not done yet. Like, I am not done yet. And, I still have like 20 good years of like solid work ahead of me. So, just don't have this sense of who you are today if you're young, and the job you're doing now and the skills you have now is where you're at. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of potential, and a lot of iterations left. So just stay curious and see where the path takes you.
That is so good. I feel that in my core. I'm just like, I have goosebumps. I've been thinking a lot about that as well. I am going to be 40 in 3 years. Like that's, what is the next stage? We're just chatting about like the future of where I want to go. And I love it. Chapters. And I think about books, there's different editions and different issues, and the future is bright.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. And if you see it that way, it's much more better. You're going to grow, right? If you see it as like, oh, I'm done, doom and gloom, then you've blocked yourself from growth. So just see the opportunity and growth will happen.
One other question I have around advice and career growth and power ups for career is, we talked about career advice. If you can leave, for people that are tuning in like right now, they're probably a marketer within a company. And what would be like your one or two pieces of advice you'd like to share to those listeners, those audience right now around marketing or even around career, or any parting advice that you would love to give to the audience?
Yeah. In-house marketers, B2B, and, honestly, especially women, if you are a young woman on a team right now, record every achievement, every, benefit, every team activity you do. You have to toot your own horn. Just like me being a consultant on the outside, no one is going to share my accomplishments for me. No one is going to get out there and tell people what I've accomplished. And no one's going to do that within your own team unless you have a very empathetic and very supportive boss. But usually you cannot rely on that. You have to be your own advocate. You have to step forth and say, this is what I accomplished. This is how that impacted the business, and ask for more money. Like, if that's where you're at, make sure that you've got the data to back why, and that you're able, like, actually recording and tracking your progress. It's going to make such a difference, not even just within your own company. If you're in your own company and the growth can happen and you want to stay there, that's amazing. But then when you're ready to go and leave, you take those accomplishments, those lessons, those values with you, and it just makes you a stronger candidate elsewhere. So if you are, just starting out and you're trying to figure out and you don't think you have an impact, you do. You're part of a team. Everything you do is beneficial. So make sure you're tracking it and taking it with you for sure.
And that also applies to consultants as well. Like, now you can I should be charging more. Look at all these things you've done in your with your clients and past companies that you worked at, and that really does help see your worth and value to people.
Get your case studies, get your testimonials, all of that stuff is helpful. Honestly, it does the work for you. It goes from you having to convince someone to sign on to them begging you to, like, okay, when are we working together? That it makes that big of a difference.
Hope you learned how to create more actionable buyer personas that will help you win more business from this episode. You can find out more about Adrienne Barnes and her work by subscribing to her newsletter, Growth Insights, and following her on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can find those links in the show notes and description. Thanks to Adrian for being on the show. If you enjoyed this episode, you'd love the Marketing Power-Ups newsletter that I send out each week. I share the actionable takeaways and break down the frameworks of world-class marketers from each episode. You can go to marketingpowerups.com to subscribe, and you'll instantly unlock the 5 best marketing frameworks that top marketers use to hit their KPIs consistently and wow their colleagues. If you want to say thank you, please like and follow Marketing Power-Ups on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you're feeling extra generous, kindly leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave a comment on YouTube. It goes a long way for others finding out about Marketing Power-Ups. Thank you to Mary Solden for creating the artwork and design. Thanks to 42 Agency for sponsoring this episode. And of course, thank you for listening and tuning in. Well, that's all for now. This is your host, Ramley John. Until the next episode, have a powered up day. Bye.
Marketing Power-Ups. Until the next episode,